All right,
All right,
let's
let's
officially start
officially start
this.
this.
So,
All right,
welcome to
sounds
the
good.
very first town hall,
Town Hall,
everybody.
everybody.
And
And
things we're going
things
to
we're
go
going
through
to go through
today
today
is
is
obviously
obviously
the
the
most
most
anticipated,
anticipated,
the
the
merge
merge
event,
event,
which we'll
which
talk a
we'll
little bit
talk a little
about,
bit about,
and a little
and
bit
a little
about
bit about
our
our
presence at
presence at
Solana
Solana
Breakpoint,
Breakpoint,
and
and
the
the
Starlight Summit,
Starlight Summit,
and
and
some of our
some of our
plans going
plans going
forward.
forward.
So, and
And
one of the
one of the
things I'd like
things
to
I'd like to
remind
remind
everybody
everybody
about
about
is
is
the
the
playing
playing
cards
cards
decks that
decks
we
that we
actually had.
actually had.
There's still a
There's
few
still
of
a few of
those
those
to be
to
given
be
out
given
to
out
the
to
top,
the top,
to the
to the
first
first
ones to
ones
get
to get
to level
to
10
level
on
10 on
Discord. There's
Discord.
still
There's
a few
still a few
cards
cards
left.
left. So
So chat up in
chat up in
Discord.
Discord.
It's gonna
It's gonna
end at
end
the
at
end
the
of
end of
the merge
the
event
merge event
once
when
that one has
one has
concluded.
concluded.
The playing
The playing
cards
cards
competition, if
competition
it's like,
feels like
will end as well. So there's still a
there's
last
still a
chance
last
if you
chance
want
if you
to
want
earn
to earn
some
some
really cool
really cool
physical playing
playing
cards
cards
of
of
the
the
Super
Super
Phoenix
Phoenix
DAO theme.
DAO theme.
Um,
Um,
other than that,
other than
I
that,
think,
I think
Greg, how about you take it
you
away?
take it away?
All right, Benny, I appreciate it. Yeah, thanks a lot. So as you mentioned, right, we've got a few things to kind of go over, get some updates to folks, and obviously the merge being the big one today. I guess before I started though, I did want to just briefly touch on, we kind of went through the mint and all of that, and everyone was awesome with that. We had a lot of great feedback. Considering where the market was and where things were at in general, I think we did a pretty good job. It was about a month ago when we kind of wrap things up. Total mint numbers that we had, just unless people are kind of curious, I know I've posted a few things out there, but we came in at just a little over 1,800, kind of total minted. We were shooting in the 2 to 3,000 range, I think, but it actually worked out really well. Like I said, people were really happy with it. I think the experience was great. Devs did a phenomenal job. We were just kind of moving forward with that. But just to give folks an idea, we came out with about just a little over 1,000 of the tier ones that were minted, around 550 of the uncommon tier twos, and then just shy, I think it was about 170 or so of the tier threes. Tier four red cubes were about 45 or 46 that were minted. And then we had 9 gold tier fives that were minted. And then, of course, the team here kind of held that one for future raffle, the tier six. So right now, that's kind of the existing extent of the total supply that's available, let's say, to be merged. And we don't anticipate all of that essentially being merged, all the way through or all the way up. But it'll be very curious to see here over the next few days and the next week or so how that kind of all rounds out and how we finalize, this initial subset of the supply as we go forward. As far as the merge itself, I guess we can kind of just jump in. We're moving forward. Everything's ready. We're basically able to go live and move forward with it here as soon as we kind of go through some of the stuff. So, Benny, I don't know if you had direct access or if you wanted to pull it up. Otherwise, I could try and do a share screen here, and we can kind of walk through it, I guess, if we have an opportunity to do so. So, let me know what you're thinking there.
Hang on a second. Should see my screen right there now.
Yep.
Yep, looks good.
So, can you walk us through slowly how this works?
Yeah, absolutely. So as you can see, it's going to immediately kind of pick up what's in your wallet as soon as you connect. And I guess maybe we didn't go right there from the beginning, but everyone just goes back to kind of our original web page, right? So it's superphoenixdao.com. And kind of right on that main page up in the right-hand corner where the navigation tabs are, we formerly had the Mint tab as one of the options. That's now been removed, and we've replaced it with the Merge. tab. So when you go ahead and select that merge tab, you'll basically see kind of our same background, but then you'll have that connect to merge or wallet connect button right there ready for you to go. And as soon as you hit that, then you're gonna see the screen here that Benny's got in front of us. It's really just going to ping your wallet real quick and kind of show you those total quantities of what you currently own, kind of in that little hexagon there in the right hand corner of each one. So in this case, he's showing 8 of the tier ones, 8 of the tier twos, 1 of the blue tier threes, a tier 4, and that's kind of where we're at right this minute. And so how this kind of works, I guess to give people a general gist of it, is you can see the cubes to merge kind of flickers there, the plus and the minuses. And so how this works is you can select, yep, exactly like that. You can select how many of your white tier 1 cubes you want to convert directly into, in this case, tier 2 green uncommon cubes. So in Benny's case, if you've got 8 of the white cubes, if you notice every time you hit the plus button, it's gonna increase by 2 because that's kind of the minimum amount that you would need to merge to that green cube. So you could go ahead and put all 8 in there, and it would show you the merge cost is 2, and it would show you the cubes gained at the end would be 4 uncommon. Now, before you do that though, Benny, I think we could just illustrate that if you also wanted to, if you back that out, you could hypothetically skip right to, let's say, a tier 3, and it'll go up by 4s. So in this case, if you're attempting to just move as far down the chain as you want, you could go ahead in this case and just mint all 8 of those white tier 1 cubes, and then directly on the other end come out with 2, in this case, tier 3 blue cubes, and kind of skip that middle process. So effectively, that's kind of how it works. If you think of each existing cube level that you own currently, you are able to go in and sort of choose how you want those to be merged and come out on the end. And then also you can basically queue these transactions to go one after another. So for example, the way Benny has it here, he could have those 2 tier 3s queued up as the first transaction. And then because he also currently has 8 green cubes in the wallet, hypothetically, you could go ahead and put in a transaction for those as well. You could do a conversion to one tier 3 and one tier 4 if you wanted, right, from the amount of greens that you have. Um, or you could just do multiple tier 3s, however you want to structure that. And when you hit the merge button up at top, it's going to queue each of these transactions that are kind of originating. You can think of them as each originating from their kind of original tier or level. So cool part about that is if for some of our whales who maybe have quite a bit of cubes, you can kind of jump in and move directly from a tier 1 or a tier 2 and ramp those all the way up to tier 3s or 4s or maybe even a 5 if you have that many. Now the catch there, or the extra piece is, now of course, if for a lot of folks who maybe have this kind of scenario where you have a handful of white cubes, a handful of green cubes, maybe 1 or 2, blue or red, and your whole goal was that you were getting up to a red or getting up to maybe a gold even, you won't be able to, even if all of your greens and whites and blues combined equal, let's say, a gold, we're unable to do that all as just one lump sum transaction because obviously you don't have the base red cubes required to make that gold cube, if you will, right now out of the gate. So that'll just be a multi-step process, right? So you'll have, in this case, Benny, if you wanted to do some of those white cubes into green and wanted to do some of your greens into blues, you could go ahead and we can run that transaction, and then it will give you those outcomes of new green cubes, new blue cubes. And then effectively you would hop back in and kind of do the same thing and move those green cubes up as far as you can, and then either hold off until you have all the blues that you need, or vice versa. You could, move them all forward down the chain to becoming blue or red or even gold. Or for, as we know, a few of our holders are going to be going all the way to purple, all the way to our level 6. So that's essentially the basics here. I guess if you want to give it a shot, if you've got an idea, Benny, how you were kind of thinking about doing a few of those, we can do it here live. Otherwise, I can kind of move forward with some treasury cube assets too, if we want to display some of the higher level transactions we could.
Yeah, to save some time, I'm just gonna do the whites to the green.
Mhm.
and then I'll show you guys how that works. So that's the output. Now it's gonna go.
As you can see here, this is already your transaction queue. So you have the 6 tier 1s becoming 3 tier 2s. Then it's going to ping your wallet again for the second transaction, which is 2 tier 1s into a tier 2. And then the third transaction will be those 4 tier 2s merging into that blue tier 3. And so your wallet will simply open after each one of those, automatically asking you to sign for those 3 kind of back to back. And also, before we exit out of this screen, Benny, just to let folks know, at each time when that reveal pops up, you have the ability to download the actual NFT image right there. Simple click, and it'll just go ahead and download the actual NFT. And then, obviously, we're encouraging folks who want to post, their recently merged cubes, or once they get to kind of their final levels, if they want to post those on X. That's great. Brings you right to the link, and then you could use that downloaded image to kind of apply to your post and get some of that stuff out to the public, which would be great.
Perfect. So that's pretty much it.
Yeah, it looks pretty good. And actually, if that's gone through and you hit exit, you'll go back to the screen, and you'll be able to see now. There you go. It just takes a second, and now it's re-registered your new holdings. So now you notice you have no white cubes left in your queue, and now you've migrated. You have 8 tier 2 green cubes. Now you've got 3 blue red tiers, which now you could go ahead and process the transaction, turn those 3 into a red cube if you chose to do so.
Legendary, here we come.
Yeah, on the way, right? On the way.
Yeah, on the way, on the way. And I also guess I have to go back to Magic Eden to buy some more tier 1 cubes, I guess.
That's also part of the plan, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. No, this is really great. I'm very happy about it. It looks very clean. It's very good looking. Very nice job from the developers. I'm very happy with it. And
Yeah, I
I
appreciate it. And obviously we're open to feedback, what folks think. It's been optimized for mobile, but I would remind folks that if you are kind of working through on mobile, it usually does. There's sometimes a lag in kind of recognizing the new cubes, let's say in a Phantom wallet, if you're going that route. But it is certainly there, and it's still executing on chain, the same as it would, here as we're watching on web. So yeah, big shout out to Unbox, James and all the folks that worked on it. They did a phenomenal job. I've been in pretty constant communication with them the last few days as they've been finalizing testing, and just a few of the minor kind of tweaks and quirks to it, so that we could have it as seamless as possible. The idea is that we're going to have it out here and leave the merge open to run at least through August 19th. So we want to give at least that full kind of week plus, so that everyone has time, because I know not everybody can be here watching this right now this minute, or maybe are going to be busy this weekend and might need a couple days, and we certainly don't want to exclude anybody who had bought in at the mint and maybe wasn't quite paying attention the last couple of days. We want to give everybody ample time to get in and be able to take advantage of the merge and the upgrade and get to those kind of higher tiers that they intended from the get-go. So the intent is to go through at least the 19th before we close down this utility on this page. What I'll say is, just prior to that, we'll kind of keep an eye on participation and just kind of see, out of all the wallets that are out there, and kind of see where the count's at per the blockchain. And assuming we have a lot of activity and most folks have come through and gone through the merge process by then, we'll go ahead and put some announcements out to kind of close it down and lock in our supply. I guess there is a chance, if maybe we have a little less participation than we thought, getting closer to those days, we could certainly extend for a bit, which we may very well do or could do. Because again, the goal here isn't to lock people out, of course, right? We want to give everybody who's already bought or is already a holder, the opportunity to get in here and merge and participate and get their upgrade and the badge and be kind of a part of this initial process, which again is, as we go through it, it's still relatively exclusive. Like I said, I think total wallets out there are still just a little under 300 total holders. So like I said, I think it's very cool that we're kind of in these initial phases and we've kind of built a core group, an audience, and all the folks that are here listening and will be watching over the next couple days. So it's good.
It is really good. And I see a question from Boone here. He's worried he's gonna fuck it up. Is there any way to screw this up?
Not really. Again, I will say the only thing you could screw up is hypothetically you can't go back, so you can't reverse a merge transaction because we're truly burning the cubes that get merged. So again, which is why you've got the counter here. It seems to be. We're hoping that it's relatively clear and that it gives you sort of that preview of what you're getting when you hit the button to click. Hypothetically, I will say there is the ability. When you kind of saw those layered transactions that are posting to the blockchain for each layer of upgrade that's occurring. Hypothetically, now it goes fairly quickly, honestly, between transactions post to the chain. You could actually cancel or back out maybe part way through as it's going through those transactions. So that's an option. But like I said, any one of those layered tier transactions, a tier one, tier two, tier three, as it completes, that's permanently written, and you can't go back and kind of undo it and split out your cubes, if you will. But if your whole goal is to merge up and be merging forward, now there's really no way to kind of mess that up, right? As you continue to roll these cubes up and get higher into the rarity, it'll simply register your kind of your next level of inventory as you go.
Sounds very good. Funcracker also has a question. He's wondering if there's a reason not to merge.
Excellent question. So not really per se. Again, it's more about how people want to maintain their collection long term and the types of rewards they're sort of gunning for or gearing toward. I think everyone maybe has their own opinion on this. I think the majority of folks are probably going to merge up if they can. Because again, when it comes to the relative values associated with, let's say, the ship airdrops, um, or the ratios of DAO tokens and the DAO token emissions that will come with these later, we kept those very structured so that it was a really equal playing field as far as if two white cubes requires you to get one green cube, the emission rates between those two down the road will literally be 2 to 1. Now the math on the ships, I think you probably get a little more bang for your buck or a little more value the further down the chain you go, or further up the chain you go, I suppose. But again, that's for each to kind of decide on their own, and obviously, ship values fluctuate on the market all the time, so that's not something we could pin down perfectly. But I do think that those flow relatively well and relatively lockstep with kind of the rarity of the cubes and the amounts that are required to get to each level. Um, as far as collections go and completing collections, I think we did incorporate a few of those things. So, the badges I think will be very cool as kind of a status symbol and a collectible. And I think most folks are trying to achieve sort of the highest, value or rank of those that they can, which makes sense because as we go kind of further up the merge curve, you're going to get lower and lower supply, obviously. The posters are maybe kind of the catch there, the caveat, because um, posters will be unlike the badges, which will be more as a one per wallet type of situation. The posters will be per cube. So the idea that maybe folks want to hang on to a few lower, level cubes just for the purpose of getting a more complete poster, lineup, that's possible. And that again just plays into general collectability, rarity, and some of those future, thoughts we have for a little bit of utility around those poster collections. But um, otherwise, from a true kind of value proposition and the value of the cube based on our original mint prices, based on the rewards that we kind of have, locked in going forward, um, I would say there's not a massive difference in kind of value as you go up the chain. It probably does get a little more advantageous to merge up. And most likely your biggest potential gain would be once we get to the DAO token staking, because higher rarity cubes will accumulate at slightly higher emission rates. And if your intention is to compound some of those tokens and that earning staking mechanism with compounding, that's where I think the advantage can benefit people who are who have merged up.
Sounds very straightforward and clear.
Maybe not, but again, we tried to gamify it a bit so it gives people kind of the options to play it as they choose. So that's what we like about it. Um,
Yeah,
I guess if there's any other questions about the specific mechanics of the merge or this kind of conceptual stuff of the merge, now's probably the time to get after it. I wanted to make sure we jumped into it and covered it first because that's what most folks are excited about, which is great. And to confirm, again, it's live on the website. So if you want to, stick around with us here as we kind of go through a few of the things that are up and coming and yet to come, awesome. But obviously, folks can hop over and start merging cubes. It's wide open.
Yep, posting the link again. So have fun, everybody, with the
Excellent.
merging, and good luck out there. It's going to be very interesting to see how the final number of cubes are going to lock in. That's the most interesting part, I think.
Agreed. And yeah, I can get into that a little bit of that too as I go through a couple of the next highlights here if we're ready to kind of get after some of that because you're right. The final count of how the merge is going to affect supply is a little bit unknown. I mean, I've done some estimates and some predictions myself, but again, it's really difficult to know, especially at the lower, I'm sorry, kind of the middle ranges when you get into sort of the blue red cube level to determine how many of those folks are going to kind of stay at those levels and how many are going to push for maybe the next one is kind of an unknown, and we'll just have to see where it shakes out here over the next week or two.
For sure, for sure. All right, I think we are ready to roll on with the next highlights.
All right, great, good stuff. So the next couple of things I've already started to touch on them, but I wanted to get into basically this next round of where we're looking at for some of the airdrops, right? Some of the badges we've talked about, the posters, obviously the ships. Folks have had questions about, and so I can kind of dive into a little bit of those things. The As far as the roadmap goes and kind of the general plan, obviously things are subject to change and development, but next stop is going to be the badges. So the reality is those are pretty tied to the merge, obviously, and that's kind of why we figured it was a good next step. Not to mention the claim process that's going to have to be developed and created to kind of facilitate that is a little bit unique, but obviously we want to start creating that tooling that we can reuse for any of the other kind of claims and drops that we continue to move on with when it comes to posters, ships, and now even the kind of extra components that are going to be going with the ships. Like I'm sure everyone's aware, right? Crew is dropping today with Star Atlas, which is kind of a big one. And we want to make sure that all those things can be facilitated through our claim process as we roll that out after the fact here in the next, month, 2 months, 3 months. So with the badges specifically, just give folks maybe kind of a refresher on that. We're going to begin development on that claiming process next. The actual snapshot for this is going to occur um, before the merge ends. So we'll get a hard date out to everyone as far as when the snapshot is going to occur. The announcement's going to be kind of during the merge here, likely next week. But then the actual snapshot date that we announce will occur just shortly after we close the merge. So again, we're targeting, Monday the 19th to close the merge. The assumed snapshot date would then probably just be within, 24, 48 hours after that. But again, that will be subject to change in case we do end up extending the merge a few days. We would extend the snapshot shortly thereafter. But ultimately, the idea is to lock down, announce in advance so everyone knows the snapshot date that's going to be related to the badges. And just to throw it out there, this same snapshot date will also be then effectively held and used eventually for the ship drop and claim process in the future as well. Kind of went back and forth on some of that, but offering a wider window for the ship airdrop didn't feel like the right approach, considering folks who bought into the mint and are participating in the merge are really the ones that ought to be able to participate in the airdrop and for the ships. And obviously, the bigger component of that being is the agreement that's already been made, with Star Atlas when it comes to the components and the crew packs. Obviously, allowing people to buy in cubes later and still get those rewards would kind of go against, the cutoff that Star Atlas has been putting out there, right? So to stay true to all of that, we're going to mimic our snapshot here for the badges, as well as the ships. And that'll all, like I said, get announced here likely next week. The real idea with the badges though overall, so the intent is for everybody who's going through the merge process here and qualifies with the snapshot will then a few weeks down the road, once that claim process is ready, be able to go in and effectively, confirm ownership of kind of your highest level cube that you've merged to, and that will allow you to mint, the badge, right, according to that cube. And so the idea is that it'll kind of be a one badge per wallet type of situation. We've had a few people kind of ask or inquire about, well, what if people try to game it and and spread things out and get a few more wallets? I believe that's probably a pretty low probability. Maybe a couple folks to do that, but at the end of the day, most people are merging up to try and get that highest level cube they can, and so the likelihood of merging up to high level cubes and having multiples of those and moving them to wallets, I think is going to be a pretty low occurrence. So that's kind of the idea there, is everyone will basically be able to claim the highest level badge for the related cube that they possess in their wallet at that time, based on the snapshot from the holdings post merge. Long term, we want these badges to be kind of part of our bigger badge and rank system that goes along with the ship itself, and then missions and some other kind of promotional or commemorative type of events and items that we may have down the road. In a perfect scenario, these are going to be the kind of wearables that we can eventually translate into user-generated content for Star Atlas, right? I think I mean, you're talking about a literal badge, right? Badge of honor for being here early, being here first, and participating. So that's really the long-term goal for these. I think people will appreciate them. Archetype's done a phenomenal job on the artwork on these. I think they'll be great, both as the NFT now, and as three-dimensional, wearables in engine, in game down the road. So very cool. I guess I'll roll in kind of the next piece, which is the posters. They're kind of similar, but but there's some nuance to it. So again, the claim process that's being built will kind of help or work to facilitate these, but obviously will require some tweaks. So, I guess from a targeted or timing perspective, the reality for the badges rollout, considering we're already here in early August and we'll be rolling the merge until about mid-August. Badges, we're probably looking at early September is probably a decent, starting target date, and we'll kind of work from there. So that would lend posters then to be a bit further down the road. Posters would probably be, toward late September, when we're moving forward on that next version of kind of the claimable drops. Now, the posters, obviously being a little bit different, the poster collection is a bit more reminiscent of the actual artwork for the ship. And that was something we, cleared with the team, and were able to kind of create these, what I thought were very cool, kind of, memorializing the idea of what the ship's going to be, both interiors and exteriors and that kind of spaces. And so with those are going to be tied to individual cubes, and we want to leave that to be a much more open-ended drop. So the intention is that one not to be necessarily a snapshot. So there is an incentive then for folks to be out there. We're going to have the initial 3 posters in the collection be those craftable posters that are in Sage. One of them, which is available right now, and the next 2 are currently in process, and we should have those rolled out and added to Sage definitely through the end of this year. We'll have all 3 of those out and available in Sage for folks to craft and to get their hands on. Now, the ones related to the drop here and the cubes, those are literally going to be 1 per cube. So whatever you own, whatever you hold, once that claim process goes live, you'll be able to just hop in and basically claim your poster. We'll kind of work through some of the details on that, whether or not we have it for a period of time, if we'll, how we're going to kind of lock it or limit it to certain cubes. Obviously, I know everyone has perceived value on cubes that have been used to be claimed versus those that haven't. So we'll address all of that as we kind of build out the tooling for it, and keep everybody kind of in the loop. But general rule of thumb there is even though the posters are primarily cosmetic, and again, the cool part that we're obviously been very pleased about and been working with the team on is, because we have the craftable component, that then allows us in the future to be able to kind of bring these posters in and out of sort of the just core regular NFT artwork space, which is where these will be created, versus kind of right now it's sort of the SFTs that live in the Star Atlas ecosystem and their marketplace. And so being able to kind of move those between the two is kind of the ultimate goal, so that folks will have the ability to, to put these up and get them in ships when there's the places for our work in ships and all that good stuff. But additionally, we're kind of looking at a couple of creative ways to add some additional sort of rewards or utilities, at least to the crafting poster set, to get it started and kind of get it kicked off. And the fact that if folks are able to maybe get an entire, all three, let's say, of the collection for the posters, um, that will be able to tie in a component or a reward component to the DAO token structure. Now, that's yet to be determined exactly whether or not maybe there's just a straight up kind of bonus or a distribution of a certain amount of DAO tokens for folks who kind of collect all three and go in and claim that. Or if we'll get a little more creative with it, and if you have maybe a full collection of, let's say, the 3 crafting posters, you may be able to get some sort of emissions multiplier for your cube that you're staking, right? Something to that effect. So we're looking at both options. I'll have to kind of run the math on those and figure out and make sure we have enough in the token pool and that everything works out based on our volumes. But I think it's very plausible and something we'd really like to do to kind of juice a little bit of the utility on maybe getting that collection up and running and kind of creating that base demand for it. So kind of excited for that. I think it's very cool. Like I said, I've kind of got a decent outline of what we're looking at on posters going forward. Not just cosmetic and collectible, but maybe also a little bit of a perk. Let's see. I guess I'll kind of finalize with the ship claim piece. So as I kind of mentioned, we we have the agreement with Star Atlas. So we've talked to the team. The agreements are in place to ensure that we will definitely be able to do all of the ship drops, including their components and their crew packs, this year, Q4 of 24. That's no problem at all. That's definitely doable. We've locked that in, regardless of kind of the snapshot date that just occurred yesterday and the crew drop that's happening today. We'll ensure that everyone is covered that route, and the tooling that we'll be able to build on our end for the claim process will include those. Now, again, there's a bit of complexity because the way I understand it, I think the component pieces will still be SFTs, and I believe the crew packs may be compressed NFTs. So again, some of the tech level stuff we'll be working through to figure out the best way to claim those, deliver those, drop those. Um, we'll verify kind of how that's set up and how the team is going to be interacting with those, both outside of the marketplace and inside the marketplace. The other part too is obviously the count, right? So one of the things that does kind of dictate timing here is that we actually won't know the exact final count of the ships that will be available for the drop and the claim until we finish the merge, right? Because we are going to have a change in overall supply and a change of final outcome of the cubes that are allotted and the rewards that'll go with them. So right off the bat, final numbers, again, we're circling around some decent estimates, but getting final counts of each type of ship at each level in hand really won't occur here until we take the snapshot and the merge is complete. So we'll have a lot more clarity on that and can then start working toward kind of the final dates, for acquiring them from the team and then getting them distributed to all the cube holders. But again, we've got everything lined up and we've got assurance from the team that we'll, get all of the associated drops, which is great. That was a great conversation, and obviously we appreciate, Star Atlas supporting us and kind of giving us that latitude to do it based on our timing, with the cubes, with the launch, with the giveaway, with the merge, et cetera, versus their timing with crew packs and everything moving forward. So I think that kind of covers that piece of it. I don't know if there's questions. We can kind of take a pause there for a second for questions.
Yeah, no, I think it's pretty clear. That is probably the biggest concern everybody's been having about the crew drops and all this stuff in regards of the ships and the airdrops and whatever. So it's good to have that finally out in the clear, so everybody knows it's not going to be an issue.
All right, good.
Good. It
Okay.
seems like we got most of the
Okay.
questions answered. I did some in the chat as well, so I'll just try answering
Oh,
as we
sure.
go. Otherwise, I'll throw it out there in the voice chat, and then we'll see. I think we are ready to move on to the next stage.
All right. Sounds good. Sounds good. Yeah, we'll keep an eye on the chat here. It looks like, as a matter of fact, I think we've got folks who are merging as we speak. Very cool. Very cool.
Oh yeah,
Seeing some of the upgraded cubes coming through already. That's awesome.
yeah, we got one
Um,
legendary locked in already. That's cool.
I
From
know. I know.
Atlas
Look at
Fury.
that. Oof. Not messing around.
All right, good stuff. Good stuff.
It is. It is. All right. I guess kind of the last subject here to go over is really kind of what we're going forward with, and I'll be honest, some of my focus here has started to pivot that way. Is kind of where we're going, how we're growing, expanding, marketing, and kind of pushing everything out there with kind of the next phase. And so the next phase is going to be, as I alluded to, being able to stake the NFTs, launch the DAO token, and then kind of use that mechanism and that process to kind of start creating that demand around the DAO token, get the staking components going, which then kind of gives us that next phase or that next runway for actual DAO governance, voting, council establishment, bylaws, et cetera, all of those things to start moving forward. So the and the reason I kind of say that or allude to that, right, is that is kind of the next build out in the next phase once we kind of get through the airdrops and the merge and this stuff. But really, we'll be pushing that um, the marketing on that and the awareness of that for the public DAO token sale. We're going to be focusing pretty heavily at Breakpoint on getting that message out, just getting in front of new people, expanding the brand, expanding the reach. And so we're planning to have a pretty big presence as far as it goes for a community-based project within Star Atlas. We're kind of going as big as we can afford to go, which is we'll have our own separate kiosk during Breakpoint in the Gamer Village, so kind of adjacent to. It's kind of one of the main floor areas of Breakpoint. So for kind of both full days of Breakpoint, Super Phoenix DAO is going to have a kiosk. We're going to have a TV with kind of all of the promotional stuff running, as well as kind of the logos. And we've got plenty of things to give away. I've been going down the route of getting all the merchandise kind of ordered and moving forward. We've got pens, we've got T-shirts, we've got cards, we've got some leave behinds, all kinds of good stuff that we're going to be pushing and kind of putting out there. So that's kind of the main piece on the main floor in Breakpoint. Now, of course, Star Atlas themselves are going to be an anchor booth holder and tenant on the main Breakpoint floor. So they'll be there in the Gamer Village with kind of one of the big anchor locations. And so, of course, we're going to be just adjacent to that, which obviously benefits us greatly to be able to kind of have that synergy between folks who are going in, kind of live playing Star Atlas at those gaming stations, and then being able to kind of peruse around and obviously check out Super Phoenix DAO and what we've got going on and how we're directly related to Star Atlas and what they're building. So I think that'll be really great. There's a great opportunity there. We're going to get a lot of exposure. I'll obviously be there in person, just kind of making the rounds, right? Getting in as many people's faces as I can, and just being a part of it and being there in the experience. Now, the second piece, though, is on day 2 of the conference. I'm sure most people are aware, anybody who was on the call with Star Atlas when they did their town hall last month, I think it was, right? Early July. They kind of announced that during Breakpoint, day 2, Star Atlas is going to be hosting its own kind of side event, which really is going to take up almost the entire 3rd floor of the conference center, which is pretty significant. So they're hosting their own Impact Summit, which is purely Star Atlas related, which is going to be great. And I'm hoping, or I think there'll be quite a bit of traffic and flow between folks who are all there attending Breakpoint and then folks who are also going to kind of meander in and check out everything that Star Atlas has going separately, individually in their side event that entire day 2. And so as people are kind of in and out on day 2, um, ourselves, right, Super Phoenix DAO, and then also a couple of other guilds and other teams related to the Star Atlas ecosystem, all have the ability to have kind of full booth setup and presence there at the Impact Summit, which is great. Obviously, we're planning for that as well. So we'll have a full booth set up at the Impact Summit. A lot of merchandise to give away there. Same kind of thing. We want to have some kind of interactive um, components too for folks to check out as they kind of show up and walk through. There's then also going to be a separate stage that the Star Atlas Impact Summit is going to be hosting and doing their own kind of panel interviews, presentations, members from the team, obviously Michael there as well, kind of giving their presentations. And so Super Phoenix DAO will be one of those, which is great. So I'll also be able to present on stage directly to the audience that's there that day on day 2. So be able to do presentations kind of to everybody, have the booth, the merchandise, kind of be doing kind of dual purpose that second day, both in Breakpoint proper and then the Star Atlas Impact Summit. I believe there's also a small panel that they're going to host at the Impact Summit, which I'll be a part of, along with the other guilds and groups that'll be participating, which would be great. They want to talk about a lot of the uses of IP and how some of these projects like ours have spun up out of the Star Atlas ecosystem, which I think is very cool. So yeah, really excited about it. I think that's going to be a massive opportunity. Could be a huge audience. I think Breakpoint is anticipating approximately 5,000 attendees this year total to Breakpoint, which is huge, which is massive. I think Singapore is a phenomenal location, right, for a lot of what's going on in crypto these days. Just so happens, I don't know how many folks will be carrying over from both, but in the days leading up to Breakpoint, there's also the Token 2049 event, which is also occurring right in Singapore, again, just a couple of days prior. So I think and that's a massive event, widely attended globally every year for folks in crypto. I think they get, I mean, well into the thousands, if not close to maybe 10,000, I think, in total attendees. So again, just an excellent place to be and to be hosting and to be able to get in front of a lot of new faces, a lot of new people who are already there for Solana, right? Who are already in blockchain and interested in crypto and are there for Solana and want to check out what it has to offer. I think it's a massive opportunity with Star Atlas being an anchor kind of host and keynote for the event, and then also kind of hosting their break off side event that we get to both be a part of and participate in. Is a huge exposure. Looking forward to it. And obviously, our big push there is going to be getting people familiar with what the DAO is, what we do, who we are, how to participate, how to hop on and buy some cubes, and then also obviously prepping people for kind of that launch for the token and the DAO moving forward.
It's awesome. I
Yep.
hope to be there myself, but we'll see. Still debating. Still debating.
Still debating. Okay, okay.
Still
I've
debating.
given you a little bit of leeway there, a little bit of a break. But yeah, the more hands on deck, the better. I will say that for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. Just trying to keep everything intact while we go forward. Let's see.
That's fair. That's fair. Now, you know what? I guess if we want to do a little leak, maybe a little leak or a little alpha, something I think is pretty fun that I'm working on pretty intensely right this minute. Um, The only reason I hesitate is I can't promise 100% that we'll be there and fully ready to go and ready to rock in full fruition for Breakpoint, but I am pushing as hard as possible to make that happen. Um, the project I'm kind of looking at getting on board or having available for Breakpoint, which I think would be very cool and kind of interactive for folks, is the team at Star Atlas was kind enough to basically provide me the full three-dimensional clay model from UE5. So having that clay model three-dimensional file obviously gives us a huge leg up in trying to do some things that are 3D and kind of AR potentially related. So again, it's very early phases, but I've secured a couple of folks that can assist with that, both in the graphic side of things and in kind of the AR development piece. And so ultimate goal would be able to get people access to kind of a pseudo realistic 3D version model of the actual Super Phoenix ship while they're attending Breakpoint and are able to see it, in the space, um, walk around it, experience it as best you can through augmented reality. So, already been messing with some of that. I think it's very cool. Being able to get access to it and get started on it as soon as we can has been a lot of fun. I'll obviously keep people posted, and if we can get a teaser out in the near future, I will absolutely do that.
What? That is cool though. Speaking of
Yeah,
that 3D model, I've actually got a physical miniature printing at this very moment.
I saw that. I
Hopefully,
saw that you were sharing. I think you were sharing in VP chat room, right? Right, a VIP
I
chat room.
did.
Um,
Hopefully, it is something that I can get to Breakpoint, and who knows, maybe we'll give it away or something.
hey,
Who
very
knows?
cool.
Who
Very
knows?
cool.
All right, that is perfect. It's great for anyone that is tending to um, show up, get some merch, have a chat with at least with Craig and all the other cool people that is gonna be there for the Solana Breakpoint and the Star Atlas event, of course.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, I don't want to out anybody particularly, but I think we're gonna have a few folks from the team there. Benny, hopefully you can join us. I think a couple of our devs are going to be in attendance. I'll have to confirm that. But yeah, it'll be great to have some folks from the team represented and and obviously folks from Star Atlas community. Star Atlas team is obviously going to be very well represented at Breakpoint, so should be very cool. Should be a lot of fun. And again, looking forward to it. I think it's a great opportunity, great experience, and we're going to bring as much flair as we can and get the Super Phoenix DAO out to the world.
Absolutely. Um, is there any other questions, anyone, in regards to everything? Doesn't seem like just Boone sending me a
Nope.
DM. We'll see if I have the courage to open that one up.
Fair enough. All right. All right. Well, this is great. No, I hope everybody enjoys the merge. Like I said, I think it seems to be running pretty smooth. Again, Unboxed and the devs have done a phenomenal job. I think the experience is real slick, real clean. The site looks great. I look forward to building out the next phases, kind of working with them to get things going on the claim process. It should be great. Should be a lot of fun. Um, Again, anything comes up, obviously ping us in the chat and we'll be around. But if there aren't any other questions, we'll probably wrap it here in a minute.
Yeah, well, see, Boone has one, and I saw I posted this one earlier. So, just out of his own interest, he's wondering about the future potential using the cubes as access as a club type feature. In other words, other people could into your specific access. Um, Not very sure about the last sentence there. It's my language, I guess. But the
Mhm.
idea with the cubes and the different tiers is that in the very long term, once we get to have the ship, there will be some areas that are um, having tiered access, meaning that you might need a tier 3 cube to access, or like a 3 tier cube plus to access, and something like that. But that's not something that we have in the short term. That's more of a long term thing that will be, but that requires the full UE5 game aspect to it as of currently. So there are some potential, of course, for having higher tier cubes, giving tiered access. Obviously, some areas will be closed off for tier 1s and some will be closed off for tier 2s and etc. But the idea is that once you have a tier 1, you're gonna have access to the most important spaces. Um, I would say. Um, yeah, the stake rewards too. Yeah, I think Craig went through it
Mhm.
a few times already, so that one's pretty clear. But I was just speaking about the very very long term. Like,
Yeah, I agree. When it comes to access, absolutely. I mean, the Super Phoenix is at least in the general designs and blueprints that we've seen up to this point. I mean, there are a lot of different spaces and lounges and areas that are going to be designated throughout the ship for all different types of purposes. And we do want to start kind of honing in on some of those. As a matter of fact, we do have ideas a little further down the road once we kind of get through many of the things we're talking about here really get us through kind of end of year, I guess, as far as roadmap goes. If I wanted to start talking about into next year and kind of moving forward, there is, as most people know, I've started having conversations with folks in more the entertainment side of the business, which I'm really excited about. And as a matter of fact, there are a couple of key individuals that I'm going to be networking and meeting with. As a matter of fact, next week, because I'll be attending Rare Evo in Las Vegas this time next week, specifically for some kind of direct networking with people who are there, right? There's some folks from Decentraland Games that I'm going to talk to. There's some folks from Neo Tokyo there I'll be talking to. Obviously, the Star Atlas team, a few folks will be there as well. So, and then of course the general Star Atlas meetup, which will be great to meet some other folks from the community. So, looking forward to that next week. But in addition to that, the idea is that I've still kept those conversations open and have kind of moved forward as far as outlining ideas of how we start to integrate the entertainment piece. So for all of that, long term, the different tiers of cubes will have different levels of access in certain spaces of the ship. Now, lower tier cubes won't be restricted from, let's say, participating in an event or going to if there's a racing event or there's a entertainment event or there's a show or something. Of course, cube holders will have ability to access all those kind of experiences. Now, there may be differences in pre-sales and who gets access first, or maybe there's a slightly discounted pricing rate for certain shows or those types of things. Those could still be levied out by tiers. But I would assume that higher tier cubes will probably have some very exclusive, maybe private lounge areas, right? Not much different than maybe folks who are traveling first class, right, at the airports. That kind of an idea. So we will have some of those things built in structure, but again, not that we're going to restrict or eliminate access for certain events or things to any cube holder, but creating a few more exclusive, kind of smaller or VIP type privileges for higher cube holders, absolutely. We'll look at adding those things into.
Perfect. And just to be clear, no free parking for Bohemian.
Yeah.
All right.
That'll
No,
be I'll be honest. People kind of joke about the parking and the access and stuff. We've had a few people ask about how the hangar space is going to be used, and how kind of access to the ship is going to function and run based on cube holders. I'll be honest. We'll have to flesh some of those things out as we go and kind of see where the holders and the membership and the kind of access um, to things develops as we get into UE5. I mean, because that stuff is a little further out. But yeah, I'm certainly open to kind of creating those kind of programs or benefits to cube holders when it comes to getting, preferred access to docking and parking and hangars and that sort of thing. So we're certainly open to it. Most of those things will probably run through the governance mechanism, if I'm being honest. But I think the opportunity for that absolutely exists.
yep, sounds good. Sounds good. Um, it doesn't seem like we have much more questions in regarding of what we've been talking about. So I think we should be getting good to close down. We are also coming up on the hour, so I'd say we're pretty good on the 20 minutes we planned.
Yeah, sorry about that. I probably tend to be a little long-winded on a few of these, which I got a reminder here a little earlier today about the presentations that presentation I'll be doing at the Impact Summit. I'm going to have to keep that pretty tight, somewhere between 10 and 15 minutes. So that might take a little practice.
Yeah, yeah, that's how it goes. That's how it goes. All right. Thanks everybody for showing up. I hope this was very informative for everybody, and I hope that we answered most of the questions that people have been having, and even more questions that you didn't know you had. And yeah, basically just thanks for showing up, and have a great weekend, everybody.
Great, thanks. Appreciate it.